Today, I want to talk about that cringe moment where you're at work and suddenly you blurt something out that you realize was so the wrong thing to say. Maybe you're complaining about your boss to a coworker, or maybe you make a joke that you think is the funniest thing in the world, but it offends your colleague. But we do not need to cringe and walk away embarrassed, hoping the person will forget. There are other ways to walk away from an awkward situation like this with grace, but the main thing is that we always need to take responsibility and admit when we're wrong. Hello friends, I'm AshleyStahl, career expert, host of the U-Turn podcast, and author of the book also named U-Turn. Get unstuck, discover your direction, design your dream career. And when you get a group of people together into a workplace with different life experiences, periodic conflict is destined to happen. After all, conflict is sometimes a healthy reminder that you're you and someone else is being them. It's good to be who you are, and it's okay to not always jive with someone else. In fact, according to a study by CPP Inc., in the United States, 81% of workers report having seen positive outcomes from workplace conflict. Take 100% responsibility for your 50%. There's strength in admitting that you're wrong, and people trust people who are willing to admit that. So let's go through how to recover from saying the wrong thing at work. Number one, reground yourself. If you said something you're not proud of at work, there's likely some type of conflict going on, whether externally or internally. Take some time to step back and reground yourself instead of going right into the fire all upset. Take some deep breaths, pull yourself together. It's okay and natural if you feel guilty or any other negative emotions. Be sure to allow yourself to fully feel the emotions and notice what they are so you can work through them. There's likely some part of you that wants to just react, but what will get you the most respect in the workplace is an ability to just respond, not react. There's a difference. A reaction takes place when you lose control over yourself in some way, while a response is intentional and empowered. The time you take to ground and pause will never be as disruptive as saying something reactive or destructive. And oftentimes, when we're in the thick of the upset, our mind jumps right into the worst case scenario. Most likely, you're not going to be fired. Remember, not to make the situation bigger than it is. Usually that sort of perspective requires a little pause. Number two, assess the damage. Be honest and open with yourself about the harm that has been done. How much damage did you actually cause? What was the mistake? What led to the mistake? What were the consequences? What should you have done or thought differently? How can you learn and grow from this situation? Spend some time evaluating if what you said was as bad as you actually think it was and how you likely made the other person feel. It helps to look at the situation from an outside perspective. Imagine the situation in your head as if you were an outside observer watching the situation. If you find that you're overreacting and it wasn't that bad, then you need to move on and not make the situation worse. Sometimes the situation isn't bad until we make it that way. If you decide that you did cause harm to someone, then it's time to go on to step 3. Number 3, own up to it and apologize. It's so important in life to make amends in the workplace. These are people we spend a lot of time with, likely more than we spend with our own families. Why would we want to make ourselves miserable by keeping unsaid resentment in our workplace? Take time to apologize and take complete responsibility for what you said to anyone who was affected. Resist the urge to make excuses or get defensive. This is a time for you to own up to what you've done so that everyone can let it go and move on. Be sure it's completely genuine and validate any pain you've caused. Validation sounds like this. I imagine I may have made you feel X, Y, or Z, and I'm so sorry if I did. Really acknowledge the possibilities of how they may have felt or what they may have thought on their side of the street. No, it's totally understandable you want to fix your image, but first it's time to focus on the people affected. Lastly, explain how it won't happen again and that you've learned from your mistake. If you show you're willing to change your behavior, it'll show anyone involved that you've grown from the situation and they can trust you. Number 4, move on. Let bygones be bygones and move on from the situation. Hopefully everything went well and there were no ruined relationships. If things are still rocky, just be sure to keep your promise that you'll do better next time. This is what growth and being human is all about. But if someone absolutely won't move past the situation after some time, that's on them, and you can still choose to let it go. The fact is, sometimes words can cause permanent damage. You offered a sincere apology and you owned up to the mistake. And if they're still holding on to it, you've done everything you can for them and you have no choice but to surrender to that fact and accept it. But still, be kind and compassionate to them. We want to make them feel heard and understood. There is a bigness in being kind and a smallness in being rude. Choose the bigger and more expansive path for your own self-esteem. Number 5, remember to be kind to yourself. If you have any negative self-talk going on, forgive yourself. It won't serve you. Everybody makes mistakes and everyone says the wrong thing once in a while. Know that you did the right thing by making amends and that you're a good person. If you weren't, you would have done nothing about the situation and kept doing it and hurting someone. Just be sure to learn from the situation and be kind to yourself. Most likely, it's not the end of the world. It's not your mistakes that tend to harm your career, but rather your reactions to those mistakes. So move on and be kind to yourself, my friends. It happens to the best of us.